Today, we will discuss how Magnus Carlsen played a game against this player. Still, while playing it, he ended up executing an illegal move, which isn't usually normal while playing chess. Make sure to watch this video right till the end to see how the entire scenario unfolded. Following the initial setup of their pieces and the commencement of the game by the arbiter, Magnus Carlsen initiated his strategy by advancing his pawn to e4. In response, Boris countered with a move to c5. As the game unfolded, it gradually transitioned into a Sicilian defense, characterized by the pawn structures on the x4 and e4 squares for white and the corresponding c6 and f6 squares for black. This development in the game signified a shift towards a well-known and complex opening, the Sicilian defense, renowned for its asymmetrical and dynamic nature. As the battle on the board unfolded, it became apparent that both players were prepared for a strategic and tactical struggle in this intriguing contest. After Magnus positioned his bishop on e2, both players opted for castle, resulting in a perfectly balanced position on the chessboard. At this juncture, Magnus Carlsen decided to seek an edge over Boris. When Boris developed his bishop, Magnus initiated a potentially troublesome situation for Boris by maneuvering his bishop to e3. He intended to launch an attack by advancing his pawn to f4. Boris, however, remained unruffled by this tactic and promptly responded by relocating his queen to a5, thus connecting his rooks. This tactical move demonstrated Boris' readiness to meet Magnus's aggression head-on, setting the stage for a dynamic and closely contested encounter on the chessboard. In the rear ranks of the chessboard, Magnus Carlsen shifts his rook sideways while Boris, taking a moment to ponder his move, maneuvers his rook to a more strategically advantageous square. Little did they realize they were teetering on the brink of a fierce confrontation. Magnus initiates a rapid offensive by advancing one of his pawns, prompting Boris to retreat his knight to a safer position swiftly. However, at this critical juncture, Magnus unfortunately commits a grave error despite having taken time to contemplate his move. This unfortunate blunder signifies a pivotal moment in the game, as it introduces an unexpected twist and the potential for a dramatic turn of events on the chessboard. Magnus Carlsen executes a strategic move by positioning his knight on squared d5, a decision that inadvertently offers Boris a free pawn on a2. Boris astutely seizes the opportunity and captures the pawn using his queen. In response, Magnus pushes his pawn, suggesting a well-thought-out plan. Subsequently, after a series of moves, Boris makes a crucial error by advancing his knight to f6, which proves to be a blunder. This mistake paves the way for Magnus to exploit the situation by playing his knight to c3. After Boris's subsequent move, Magnus will have the opportunity to advance his pawn to b5, thereby winning Boris's knight. This sequence of events underscores the delicate balance of strategy and tactics in their ongoing chess battle. Boris acknowledges his blunder and reluctantly sacrifices his knight, recognizing that it's his only recourse to continue the game. Magnus Carlsen seizes the advantage, and after some minor piece maneuvering, the bishops are exchanged on the board. Subsequently, Magnus proposes a queen trade, a move Boris should ideally decline since competing in an endgame against Magnus, known for his exceptional endgame skills, is arduous. However, Boris finds himself with little choice but to accept the offer, leading to the exchange of queens and Magnus relocating his bishop to b6. At this juncture, Magnus Carlsen is acutely aware that victory is within his grasp, given his prowess in endgames far surpasses Boris's capabilities. Boris attempts to make amends by advancing his pawn to f5. Magnus responds by gradually inching his king closer, and a series of pawn exchanges follow. Regrettably for Boris, these pawn moves benefit Magnus by bringing him closer to a winning position. Magnus continues pressuring his advantage by pushing his pawn to f3 while Boris advances his king. Magnus positions his rook upward, potentially setting the stage for a rook stack consolidating his dominance. Despite the apparent safety of Magnus's position, Boris remains a formidable opponent, displaying a hint of counterplay by moving his rook to b3. Though tilted in Magnus's favor, the game remains dynamic and full of possibilities as they navigate this complex endgame. It seems like a gift to Magnus, offering him a free rook exchange by trading on b3, enabling Boris to secure a pawn that could potentially promote to a queen. To thwart this, Magnus avoids the trade by moving his rook to d1, inadvertently giving Boris a free pawn. This exchange levels the playing field, restoring an equal position for both players. Magnus extends a tempting trade offer, which Boris rejects, instead opting to attack Magnus's knight. The game remains balanced, with both players actively vying for an advantage in this critical phase. Magnus Carlsen retreats from his bishop, prompting Boris to launch an attack. Frustrated by the pressure, Magnus moves his bishop once more. While Magnus is renowned for his prowess in such positions, the ticking clock adds pressure. Boris persists in his assault on Magnus's bishop, aiming to capture it. However, Magnus retaliates by checking Boris's king, forcing a rook trade. Following a few more moves, Boris advances his pawn to 3, merely 2 squares away from promoting it to a queen. Magnus intercedes to thwart Boris's promotion plans, prompting Boris to defend his advanced pawn with his bishop. At this point, Magnus holds a slightly superior position, contingent upon making precise moves. Several moves transpire before Magnus seizes the opportunity to capture the pawn, leading to the eventual exchange of the bishop and rook. Consequently, Magnus retains a rook and 2 pawns, while Boris possesses a bishop and 4 pawns, with 1 passed pawn, a formidable force. The game appears poised for a draw unless either player makes a critical blunder, and they continue shuffling their pieces, carefully maneuvering to maintain their positions in this tense endgame. Magnus Carlsen initially relocates his king to d3, aiming to safeguard his pawns from Boris's king. Unbeknownst to him, this seemingly innocuous move would soon become a critical blunder. Boris responds by moving his bishop back to d1. In response, Magnus advances his king to d4, leading to disastrous events. This move allows Boris to put Magnus's king in check with his bishop. Following Magnus's king's response, Boris gains an unexpected advantage, winning a rook without compensation. Realizing the gravity of his error, Magnus takes his hand off the piece and attempts to rectify the situation by moving it again to a more favorable square. Fortunately for him, this second move violates the rules of professional chess. Boris promptly points out this violation, causing Magnus to grimace in frustration. He then stops the clock, signaling the end of the game. In professional chess, a rule prohibits players from changing their moves once they have released a piece. This situation marks a rare occurrence where Magnus Carlsen, one of the world's top chess players, has been caught making an illegal move during a game captured on camera. So this was how Magnus ended up losing this game against Boris. Hopefully, he only overthink a little in future games. So much that it gets him to carry out an illegal move. That's all we had for this video. Remember to subscribe to the channel and give this video a thumbs up because it helps us grow. See you again very soon in a new video.